you just don't see out there
I got
with
it.
the lights. You know, I should have had a paper towel.
Oh.
All right, ladies and gentlemen,
Paper towel.
how is everyone? Are you enjoying it thus far? I sure am. And this is the 22nd annual Satchmo Summerfest, presented by Chevron, and you find yourselves this glorious afternoon at the Satchmo Legacy Stage in memory of Joni Berry. Someone pointed something out to me. This is my fourth time up here, Stephen,
Thank you.
and I've yet to introduce myself. My name is John Polt. I will be your MC,
Hey.
and that I'm doing that. What do you call that when you walk it back? That goes. I'm going to think of that word soon. Well, we'll figure it out. I'm going to check Wordle. Anyway, I just wanted to get a Wordle reference in. This is the only festival in the state of Louisiana that is dedicated to Louis Armstrong and is produced by French Quarter Festivals Incorporated, a nonprofit organization showcasing New Orleans culture and heritage since 1984. Give them a big hand. They do a beautiful job, Emily and her staff. And this festival is made possible by the generosity of our sponsors and you by wearing a Louis Armstrong Satchmo Summerfest t-shirt or getting a French Quarter Festival hat and eating and drinking, but drinking responsibly. Eat as much as you want. So do that. And so I expect all of us, see this young man, he has the Satchmo Summerfest shirt. I'll be checking everyone tomorrow. So besides you, again, it is Chevron, the New Orleans Jazz Museum at the old U.S. Mint here. I'd like to make special mention of Travis and Aiden and Danny Kadar, the sound guy, and who have done such a great technical stuff here, as well as Bad Andy. Where's Andy? Also, the Joseph K. and Inez Eichenbaum Foundation, Mr. Stephen Maitland Lewis, who are sponsoring this stage in memory of Joni Berry, a longtime supporter of this festival. Also, the Ella Fitzgerald Charitable Foundation. Janice Folks, take a bow. Richie and Vicky Norrigan, I want you to get a video of him, have him send you a video of him taking a bow.
Okay.
The both of them. And Andrea Duplessis, who's over here. Give them all a big hand for make this all possible here. Once again, leading this program is going to be Grammy winner Ricky Riccardi. Give him a big hand. What a thrill for really everybody when you won. It was such a great and well-deserved accolade. Of course, for those of you who don't know, which I'm sure are none of you, he is the Director of Research Collections at the Louis Armstrong House Museum. And tomorrow I want you to give us an update on the museum.
Yeah, sure thing.
Now, since you're going to be interviewing Jewel Brown, I will just say that Jewel Brown was born in Houston's 3rd Ward.
Exactly.
And she first performed at age 9 in Houston's 4th Ward.
Exactly. Oh, my.
And then for many, I read a good article where you mentioned Satchmo Summerfest is one of the places you come to these days. Yeah, they called her like the Beyonce of her day. They did. That's the headline. Watch those videos, people. And for many years, she was the featured vocalist for Louis Armstrong's All-Stars. Filling in all that, and since then, I give you Ricky Riccardi interviewing Miss Jewel Brown. What an honor.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank all of you for coming.
Thank you, John, for that wonderful introduction. But I'm actually going to open with a video, and I think this introduction is better. This is Louis Armstrong introducing Jewel Brown on the Mike Douglas Show in 1964. I don't know if you've seen this since 1964, but
I haven't.
Let's get Jewel.
And Louis, I want you. This young lady, I heard her sing at rehearsal, and I want to tell you, she's really a comer.
Yes, she's wonderful.
No kidding, she is
It's a
great.
pleasure to introduce her to the folks. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like for you to stand by now and listen to our vocalist. She's right here in the studio, ready to go. And it's none other than Miss Jewel Brown.
You?
Thank you so very much. And I hope you don't mind if I start off by shuffling along to the blues side of things with one called St. Louis Blues, okay? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hate to see that evening sun go down. Don't you know I hate to see that evening sun go down. 'Cause my baby, he done left this town. If I'm feeling tomorrow like I feel today, or if I'm feeling tomorrow like I feel today, well, I'm gonna pack my trunk and make my getaway. St. Louis woman, with all them diamond rings, well, you know you pull my man around by them apron strings. And if it wasn't for powder and all that store-bought hair, well, you know that man I loved, he wouldn't have gone nowhere. I know. Well, I got St. Louis blue, just as blue as I can be. Lord, that man's got a heart like a rock cast in the sea. Well, he wouldn't have gone so far away from me. St. Louis woman, with all them diamond rings, well, you know you pulled him around by your apron strings. And if it wasn't for powder and all that long black hair, well, you know that man I loved, he wouldn't have gone nowhere. I know. Well, I got St. Louis blue, just as blue as I can be. Well, that man's got a heart like a rock cast in the sea. Well, he wouldn't have gone so far away from me. Well, I got St. Louis blues. I got the St. Louis blues. I got the St. Louis blues. I got the St. Louis blues. Well, I got the St. Louis blues, just as blue as a nigga can be. Lord, I got the St. Louis blues. 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 Well, I got the St. Louis blues, just as blue as a nigga.
Well, I've never seen this one. I've never seen it.
I've got more. But,
Oh,
we'll
get
save
outta here.
we'll save that for later. It is an absolute.
Genius to have all that stuff. How old are you?
Oh, well, let's not get carried away. I'll be 42 next month. 42 next
Yeah,
month.
you've done some research.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And all these photos that are going to be playing while we talk, these are all taken by Jack Bradley. I don't know if you remember Jack Bradley.
I
was
remember a Jack Bradley.
Yeah, he was Lewis's pal, and we have all these photos.
You've had some
and-
kind of connection to get
Yeah.
stuff from way back there.
Yeah, no, all these photos were taken by Jack Bradley throughout the 1960s. I want to read a passage. In 1967, you were profiled by Leonard Feather
Yeah.
in an article called Jewel Brown Tops with Pops. And this is his intro. Jewel Brown is unique in two respects. First, you can't hear her voice on a solitary record, even though some experts rate her as an outstanding jazz singer and perhaps the most talented band vocalist in the country. Second, she has spent most of the last 8 years working for one or the other of two bosses, Louis Armstrong and the late Jack Ruby. We're here to talk about Louis Armstrong, but would you care? With an opening like that, I have to take it. Can you tell us a little bit about Jack Ruby?
Oh, my goodness gracious. Yeah? How far do you want me to go?
Whatever you're comfortable with. Yeah.
Well, for one thing, I must say, now I'm not raunchy or anything, but I am straight up.
Yeah, tell the truth.
Well, anyway, he was a man with no mercy, for one. Take care, Jack. He worked me 7 days a week for a year and a half. But, there's a quote scripturally saying, the Lord work in mysterious ways, but yet have wonders to perform. Every bad thing that happened in your life, he said he'll take the devil and make him your footstool.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I'm a witness.
Uh-huh.
Oh, sorry, Jack. And there were all kind of people coming there, packed every night. So this lady of the evening was with a gentleman that used her services. But at the same time, she had others in the room the same night that had used her services. And she told him, go in and tip her and have her to sing Stormy Weather. So he said, no, you take it. He gave her a $100 bill. And she said, no, let's call Jack. So Jack comes over. He takes the $100 bill. He brings it to me while I'm on stage, and I thanked him, and I said, this goes in the Titty Bank of America. And afterwards, in the dressing room that I had made on my own, he threw the curtain open saying, where's my half? And I said, half of what? He said, why, you money-hungry bitch. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have it. I said, well, you son of a bitch. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have all these people in here every night.
Right, all right.
Because I was taught not to be afraid of nobody. He said, the truth might get you in trouble, but the Lord will set you free. I believe that from my father, okay? That's the kind of father I had. So that's the kind of strength that I had, Because I was embedded, inculcated, and instilled in strength from my father, okay? He couldn't read nothing. Newspaper, flyers, or nothing, but he could read the Bible from cover to cover. Wow. So I had no other way to believe other than in him because I knew the master was guiding him, So when he said that, and as hard as I had worked for that man, didn't even ask for a raise, didn't want to. Cost them $100 tips every night. I didn't have to claim them on income tax. So I didn't bother about that. And he never offered a raise, okay? So, but when he said that to me, something wouldn't let me accept that. And I left. I told the young lady who would drive me to work every night in my car to keep me from having to spend parking money. I told her, Terry, I want you to clean out the trunk and clean out that back seat when you come and get me tonight. So I put everything together. He asked me, where you going? I said, I got to get all this stuff cleaned up. You haven't given me a chance. I said, this stuff stinks. I got to clean this up and get my heels on my shoes and things fixed and blah, blah, blah. And that's how I got out that door. Wow. Now, I know I needed to use some kind of tactic in getting and going out of that, and I did. That next night, since he was so belligerent with me, I was the same to him. Now, normally, I'm a person would give a person a 2-week notice or something of the sort.
Sure.
But I didn't feel like he deserved it, and I didn't give it to him.
Good.
someone had heard that I had quit him, and a gentleman that owned the Chalet Club said, got to me some kind of way. I don't know how, I never did ask him. And when he got to me, he said, would you please come work for me? And we talked about it, and blah, blah, blah. I said, of course. Well, that was the most fantastic thing ever happened in my entire life. Because that is where Tony Papa, the branch manager of Dallas Associated Booking Corporation, always brought his family to eat.
Wow.
And that was also where Tony Zappi, who wrote me up every day in the Dallas Morning News. He wrote an article on me in the entertainment section every morning, because the Sovereign Club was the club, and his sister owned the Las Vegas Club. So he didn't want me to use the name Jewel Brown because his sister wanted me to work. So he gave me another name, Betty something. I forget what it was, but I didn't mind because she was paying me better than him. Right. So I went on, and so happened Tony Papa, sorry to say, Velma Middleton had passed. Right. And they didn't know what to do with if Louis even wanted another vocalist or what, a male singer or anyone at all. So what happened was they had a tour of Texas, and they asked them to look me up, and they did, and the gentleman, Mr. Jeffrey, didn't mind my going. And I told him I'd be back at whatever. And so we toured all of Texas. And then after we left, he said, well, we'll let you know something. We'll be heading toward New York, and we'll let you know something. So it wasn't like more than 2 or 3 days that Mr. Glazer called. Gerald, I was down there in Texas, and I heard you, and I didn't know what Louis want to do just yet, but if we have another vocalist, it will be you.
Wow. Wow.
I said, well, Mr. Glazer, please, if you consider me, give me time, because I need to go to Houston, see my mom and dad and my son before I go any further. He called me about maybe a week later. Joe, there's a ticket for you in Houston for 3 o'clock. You need to be on that plane.
Wow.
I'm in Dallas.
Of course.
I'm in Dallas. And there I was. So happened, my room, my suite was right there toward the door, right by the street. And Terry came to help me, and stuff was flying out that window in my convertible. And when I left out of there, it was the pedal to the metal. Wow. A policeman stopped me halfway. I say, officer, I have no explanation for you other than the fact that I got to get where I'm going, and I got to get there quick, and I don't have no time to mess with you, officer. Please, I don't have no time to mess with you. And tears started rolling out my eyes. He said, go ahead on. Just be careful. But the thing that was missed along the way in there was when they called me to Tony Papa's office. I walked in the door without anything other than, hi, Miss Brown, how you doing? He said, who do you want to be with, Duke Ellington or Louis Armstrong?
Oh, my goodness.
I said, immediately, Louis Armstrong. And the main reason was because I had heard from all the musicians and all along the way that Duke didn't fly. Look how much money you out of taking a boat to Europe. So, Louis Armstrong. And then I liked the idea of what he was doing, and I thought I might communicate with that better, and so it was.
Wow, incredible.
And like I said, thank you, Jack Ruby.
Yeah.
Thank you for being my footstool.
So you join the All Stars. What are your first impressions of that band, of Louis, of the whole operation?
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. How long we got?
Well, take your time with me.
Well, number one, that organization and the musicians, all I needed to do was call a tune, give a key, and slap my hips for tempo.
That's it.
And that's all I needed to do. And it was like we had worked together already for 50 years. And then on the other hand, Joe Glazer ran that operation like no other operation that I had ever known or heard of, outside of Dave Brubeck.
Right.
That was some kind of organization as well. But, for instance, if you broke the rules 3 times, you knew not to argue, you knew to just go pack your bags and go.
It's over.
And the funny thing about it that I still have never figured out, somebody would come and now, nobody knows somebody's finna act a fool, huh? Okay. But that night, it would be another musician from New York or from wherever they were coming from, and they had 3 sets of uniforms. Every night, they had the same uniform the rest of the guys had. How that happened, I don't know. It's just like they had a tailor making them in midair.
Right.
You know, and I don't care if a bus broke down.
Right.
It wasn't 30 minutes, another bus would be there.
Yeah.
I've never seen an operation operate like that. As far as character, as far as never was late for a gig, no matter what kind of weather it was. I don't understand it.
Well, you mentioned the bus and all. Take us through a day in the life. So you're doing one-nighters.
Yeah.
What's it like? What's the day like? The hotel, the bus? Is it grueling? Is it joyful? What's the spirit?
All I can say is Louis Armstrong was a very respected musician because never had one problem. I can only name one, and that was when we were going through Biloxi, Mississippi. Everybody got hungry. Everybody looking around. Frenchie, our road manager, say, well, what y'all want to do? He looked at Pops and everybody, he said, well, I tell you what. He said, there's a Holiday Inn over there. I believe they'll accept all of us, you know. So he stopped, and everybody said, you go in there and check it out, Frenchie. He went out there and checked it out. On the way back, here come Frenchie, but like about 10 or 15 steps behind him is another Caucasian gentleman behind him. So Frenchie got on the bus and said, hey, the owner of the cafe is coming. He's gonna tell you what he feels. He got on there. Now, Arvell Shaw was about the same complexion as Louis. Arvell Shaw. Now I sat here. Pop sat there, just like one seat behind Pop sat there. So when the man gets on the bus, the man walks to Arvell Shaw and say, Mr. Armstrong, you are welcome at my place anytime you want it. I'd be glad to have you. Now, he passed up Louis.
Right.
Huh? All right. The man gets off the bus and go on. Everybody's still sitting there. Frenchie say, well, what y'all gonna do? Pop say, he invited Arvell. He didn't invite me. He invited Arvell. So everybody say, so Pop say, you know, he was a hot dog man, you know.
Yeah.
Pop say, I see a hot dog stand out there. We ain't got to get out. Just get us some hot dogs. That was our meal till we got to the next place we were going. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That was the only sensitive time that was really something different.
Now you were the youngest person in the band. How did it feel, those one-nighters? Just the hotels, the bus, did you ever wear you out?
Well, you know, when you're young, your joints can handle it. But today is a whole different story,
Sure.
okay? But we mostly flew, and I got during those years when flying was just fantastic. You know, we would get like million-mile certificates from every airline every year. All the certificates you get when you're crossing the equator and when you're crossing the international date line and all that. You get all those kind of certificates.
Well, speaking of that, what are some of your favorite overseas memories? You pretty much saw the whole world, Japan, Hong Kong, and you went behind the Iron Curtain. What sticks out from those trips? Australia?
Well, one of my most beautiful sights that I ever saw that's locked in my mind was the West French part of Africa, which was Tunis, Tunisia. A beauty that you just don't forget. It becomes indelible in your mind, you know. There's so many various different reasons and things, you know, about different countries. There's some where people were just so humble, like in India, you know. They were just so humble and sweet there to all of us, you know. The only thing I hated there was that the poor parents would cut off a child's arm and leg to send them out to beg, you know, in front of the hotels and things. And they didn't know how to speak English or anything, but they'd just reach their hand out like this, let you know I'm hungry, please feed me. So, you know, we'd give them, we'd always give them something, you know, whatever we had, and, you know, in their money, because most of the time when we would hit those countries, we would always stop in the bank and the in the airport and get a little money, you know, to give away and tips and stuff. You know.
Well, Louis was famous for being a soft touch and handing out money. Did you have any stories of his generosity?
Oh, I got the greatest one.
Please tell us.
That was in Chile. We were in we played Santiago and Valparaiso, Chile. And each night there were over 50,000 people in a tent. Leaving there, the crowd started to come around. They recognized Louis. And when the children came up to him, he went up to the gift stand and gave the children gifts from there. The little gentleman that was behind there didn't understand English or anything, so Pops would ask him, how much for that? So he was looking around for somebody to help him, you know. So what Pops did, just grabbed him and moved him to the front to stand aside. He said, just stand right there. Louis went behind there, and every single thing that was there, he gave away. And where the crowd came from, I don't know. I mean, you couldn't move for the people. But after everything there was given away out of the cases and off the shelves and everything, Pops looked around. He said, well, and he reached in his pocket, and he gave everything he had away and the money he had in his pocket. When he ran out of that, he said, Frenchie! Here come Frenchie. Give me what you got. Wow. Frenchie gave him what he had. He gave all of that away. When Frenchie ran out of money, he said, Doc!
Doc Pugh.
Not Doc Pugh.
Oh, Doc Schiff.
Dr. Alexander Schiff.
Yeah.
And that Dr. Alexander Schiff had all that stuff down in the bottom of that bag stuffed. He said, don't worry about it, just give me the bag. And every stack of $100 bills and whatever was there, he gave it away. Do you hear me?
Unbelievable.
And you know, there's a lot of people that start to talk about what Louis didn't do or that don't know, okay? And I never will forget, we was in what they call Guggenhaven, but it's actually, we call it Copenhagen, Denmark. This Associated Press person was interviewing Louis, asked, would he mind? We were all sitting there waiting for our flight at our gate. And he said, he started to interview Louis, and finally he got to the part where he said, Mr. Armstrong, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you, you know, now Lena Horne and Harry Belafonte, and they're down there in Florida marching. He said, but I never hear of you marching. He said, what? Them people don't need no marching. They need money. I'll go down there and get the marching. They hit me in my chops and I can't blow my horn. He said, well, Mr. Armstrong, do you think they would hit you? What? They'd hit Jesus Christ if he's black. Yeah. Here's my hand of God, Joe. He didn't mind, he didn't care about what he said. He said he was straight up. Straight up. I never caught him lying to anybody or just trying to be nice to somebody with the untruth or this. He was just always straight up.
Real.
Oh, he was always real. Joe Glazer would try to cool him down, so
right.
He said, well, look here, Daddy.
Yeah.
I'm just telling it like it is.
Oh, man.
You know, that's the way he did it.
You mentioned Joe Glazer a few times. We read Joe Glazer's name, we can only imagine. Tell us about Joe Glazer. What kind of person? I mean, you did an impression. I guess he was pretty loud.
Oh, yeah, whatever he had to say, you know, he was straight up with it, you know, from the stories that Louis gave me that when they used to work together for Al Capone in Chicago,
Yep.
you know.
Sunset Cafe.
So, you know, because, you know, Joe was Al Capone's right-hand man, you know. So, you know, I mean,
a little Al Capone, a little Jack Ruby, a little, yeah, that's right. But that whole entourage, people might know the musicians. So the All-Stars would go out, and it'd be you, and it might be Lewis, and let's say Tyree Glenn, and Buster Bailey, and Billy Kyle, and Marvell, and Danny Barcelona. But then there's also Doc Schiff. There's also Bobby Buster, right? And Bob Sherman, who came in after Doc Pugh. All these.
After Doc Pugh couldn't take it anymore.
Right.
You know, and travel anymore.
Yeah.
You know. Then that's when they brought in Bobby Sherman.
Right.
And
Ira Mengel, right? He replaced Frenchie.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And you spoke, I believe, of Ira Mengel.
Yeah.
And you say, well, Ira Mengel did a boo-boo.
Oh.
And that day,
Got
Pops looked around and said, he know what to do.
Wow.
He knew that, and Ira just went right on and got his bags. Went on.
That was it. But was it a family feeling, like the 8 or 10 of you traveling around the world? Did everybody, I'm sure there was times where there was some tension, or did everybody mostly get along?
Everybody got along. And we used to beg for days off.
Yeah.
But we had times like Las Vegas for 3 months,
Yeah.
or Freedom Land for 3 months.
Sure.
We did places like Hawaii for a couple of weeks. You know, that's when we'd send for our families and all that
Yeah.
sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And, of course, my son would have to be out of school, and so he got a chance to spend summers with me, like in New York, Chicago, and places like that, you know, because we were at the living room in Chicago. And that was just a great time. The living room, you know, was owned by those people.
we got it.
Danny Siegel and Tommy Siegel. You know? But hey, you know, closed mouth is the thing.
Right.
You do what you hired to do and go on about your business. You know?
Yeah, of course. Now, you were in the band in a very interesting time when Hello Dolly exploded and knocked
That's
the
right.
Beatles off the charts. What was that like, that feeling? Did anything change? The crowds, the whole atmosphere?
Nothing changed. There was packed houses every night.
Before?
Anyway.
Right.
Oh yeah, that and the same with What a Wonderful World. It was always packed houses. We never had an empty house. I don't care where we went, what part of the country we went, what in the bottom, we always had a packed house.
Wow.
I never saw a Louis Armstrong date half empty. missing seats. So I never saw that.
Incredible. But this is also a time when the critics could be particularly brutal. And you once told me Lewis's advice about critics who give bad reviews and might be a little negative. What was Louis Armstrong's feeling about those critics?
He told me the greatest thing he could have ever told me that I live with today. I said, did y'all get the newspaper? So you could tell me what they said about it? He said, Joe, don't worry about what say. Just as long as they spell your name right.
That's it.
And hey,
Yeah.
that's been it.
That's it. Yeah.
That's been it all these years. No matter what they say,
Spell
long
my
as they
name
spell
right.
your name right.
That's incredible.
That's what he told me, and I've lived with that all
Incredible.
my years since I left. Since it was over for us in November of '68.
Wow. And you also once told me a very emotional story. I mean, that grind did have an effect while you were with the band. Buster Bailey passed away,
Yeah.
and Billy Kyle passed away. Do you remember
Oh, yes,
Billy
yes.
Kyle?
He was in Ohio, Youngstown, Ohio. Youngstown, Ohio. I won't tell the details. It's too.
Sure. But
no.
do you remember the song Lewis played? You told me.
Ooh, baby, I don't know how that. Ooh, making me think too far back. That night, it was almost about the close of the concert. And Pop started playing Just a Closer Walk with Thee. Not knowing anything. But after he did Just a Closer Walk with Thee, he usually closed with Way Down South, right?
Right.
He closed with Just a Closer Walk with Thee that night. And when we walked off the stage, Dr. Schiff walked up to him and said, Billy just passed. And everybody just, because Billy was just a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Ooh, he was a sweetheart.
And he was pretty much like the musical director of the band, right? Would you
Oh, yeah.
work songs out with him?
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Because you brought some, I mean, we've heard St. Louis Blues and some of the good old good ones, All of Me, but you also brought songs into the band. Have you heard about Jerry? And this could be the start of something big, and what the world needs now is
Yeah,
love,
yeah,
sweet love.
yeah.
How would you go about picking tunes, and would there be a rehearsal, or would you just go out?
As I told you before, I'll tell you again.
It's the time.
All I had to do was call a tune, and I'd find maybe a piano or whatever and find a key for me, and that's all I would do. We never had time to rehearse.
Yeah.
But I'd tell them the tune, the key, slap them hit for a tempo, and it was on.
That's it. That's it.
That's the kind of musicians they were.
Yeah. Incredible.
That's exactly right. They were incredible.
Well, do we want to watch another video real quick? I mean, we'll keep talking, but this is another one from my secret stash here. This is in 1968. I'll let Jewel choose. You want Time After Time or That's Life?
Whatever. I'm here. I'm here seeing something I've never seen before.
All right. So this is
So you pick it.
from a BBC broadcast, 1968. We got Jewel, we got Lewis, we have Tyree Glenn, Joe Maraney on clarinet, Marty
Yeah.
Napoleon on piano, Buddy Catlett on bass.
Yes,
we're gonna
indeed.
do let's do Lewis's introduction, a little Time After Time.
We're going to keep it rolling because it's time for our vocalist to come up and entertain you now. And here she comes, Jewel Brown.
You can say that. Oh, you can say that.
Thank you so very much. Right now, we'd like to do one for you called Time After Time. Time after time, I'll tell myself that I'm so lucky to be so young, so new, and time after time, you'll hear me say that I'm so lucky to be loving you. Oh, yeah. Oh, time after time, you'll hear me say that I'm so lucky to be loving you. Ooh, so lucky to be, well, the one you run to see in the evening when the day is through. Well, I only know what I know. That is the passing years will show. You got my love so young, so new. Now, time after time, yeah, you're gonna hear me say that I'm oh so lucky. Do you feel lucky? So lucky, I feel so lucky, oh so lucky to be loving you. Oh, so lucky to be loving you. Oh, I hope my musical director made it in here so he could hear that. Thank you. God bless you. God bless y'all. I appreciate it. Nick Allen, are you here? Huh? Stand up. That's my musical director back there.
Yeah.
This is his home. He's been living in Houston. He's the one that has done my new CD that's out. It was, I believe, released yesterday, right?
Wow. All right.
Yeah, I told him, I said, boy, you done refurbished this old girl. He won't let me get old. But that's all right with me.
Well, let's quickly tell the story because that clip is from 1968, and I heard some murmurs in the crowd. People were surprised how skinny Louis was. And then shortly after, only a couple months after, so November 68, he ends up in intensive care and was in the hospital for almost a year, stopped performing. And then now you also pretty much went into retirement for a while after that to help your family. Why don't you tell the folks what happened after 68?
Well, it just show you how the Lord worked things in mysterious ways, but God wanted us to perform. And it so happened, 68, when I left there, Pops told Johnny Carson that he had very close veins. That's what he said when he went on the Carson show, as you can remember. And so happened, my mom had a stroke just before Christmas. So everything I saved up and everything, because back then Medicare didn't do nothing for you. After 90 days, you were on your own, So praise God, I had been with Louis and had saved up a bit and so forth, and had also sent him a good bank account. And so we used it up, taking care of her, you know. And when things started to get kind of thin and seeing a hole in the bucket, you know, I called New York and told them I needed a gig, you know, and they sent me to Las Vegas. So I headlined the show at the Sahara for a year and a half with the show called Phyllis de Soul. You know, people could understand how I could do so many different venues of music. But that's how I was raised. My brother, Theodore Brown, they called him Ted Brown. He told me when I was 9 years old, when I got started, you know, and so by the time I got about 11, he said, Jewel, you don't want to just do blues. You don't want to just do jazz. You want to do it all. So there I was in the night of the Tennessee. Well, you know, whatever. I just started doing it all so I wouldn't miss a gig, okay?
Sure.
And so there I was with this group, you know, Phyllis de Soul there in New York, in Las Vegas at headlining that show at the Sahara. And after a year and a half, you know, it was to move over to the Stardust. And I told him, I said, no. I said, I've talked to my dad. Nobody's helping him, you know. So it's not that your siblings are bad. It's just that they don't think. And I praise the Lord that he put that on me to think about that. So I said, I got to go home and help my dad with my mom, you know. And it wasn't too much longer then that she passed. And he missed her so much that 6 months later he had a heart seizure.
Wow.
And so there I was. I said, well, I can't go nowhere now. I got to stay here. So what I did, I'd already had a whole lot under my belt of beauty work. You know, barber, you know, that's all we you know, while we cut everybody's hair, fix everybody's hair. So that's what I went into. And I went to a barber school there. And his name was Mr. Jemison. He's gone now. But he said to me, Jewel, you don't need to be in here. You wasting time in here. He said, you know more than a whole lot of these teachers we got in here. You go on down there and work with your brother. And if anybody bothers you, tell them to call me. Nobody never bothered me. So I worked without a license till I was able to work upon And that's how I was able to help get everything through, get my son to college and all this sort of thing. And then all of a sudden, boom, it hits, start moving around again, you know. And here come this dadgum COVID.
Right.
It didn't just mess with me, it messed with a lot of us, I'm sure.
Sure.
And so, you know, but then I had done a thing with Joe Sample of the Crusaders.
Yeah.
And we did his last show together in Galveston at a theater called the Opera House. And I never will forget after that, he said to me, Jewel, we got to do something together. He said, I got to finish this CD I'm doing with NDIRE, and after I finish that, we gonna get together and put something together for us to go. And of course, he passed on. And that's how I've been fortunate enough to meet. He was, the gentleman that is my musical director now, was also his ghostwriter, as well as assistant director.
Got it.
And so he told Nick before he passed, do something with her.
Wow. And here you are. New CD out, touring, performing tomorrow at 3:30. Oh, if you didn't know it, tomorrow, Jewel Brown's singing on the stage out there. The whole band, right? Gerald French and Wendell Brunius. Do not miss it.
I'm going to do the best I can do to do the best I can. While I can, when I can. If I can, however I can. For as long as I can, for who I can. As long as the good Lord say I can.
Now, I mean, New Orleans has been a special place for you throughout your whole life, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember your first time here with Louis?
No. I once
before, I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, I once had a manager by the name of Paul Dent.
Oh, I met him.
You remember
I met him
Paul
here,
Dent?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, we did a lot together. As a matter of fact, I don't talk about it much, but we went to Russia to do Putin's birthday party.
Well, nobody's perfect. A gig's a gig, right?
Yeah, a gig's a gig. Thank you. Like that. A gig's a gig. It was a wonderful gig. But
I am
Wonderful guest.
I'm having the time of my life, but I don't want to hog the spot. We have a few minutes. Does anybody have a question for Jewel Brown? I mean, this is a moment, last surviving all-star, folks. I have to say it. Yes, in the back.
Compliments on your grace and eloquence, and thank you for sharing your wonderful stories today, Mrs. Brown. Did you ever perform with Duke Ellington?
No. Guess what? I didn't, cause it's only so much you can say at a time, right? I had a girlfriend. Well, first of all, the mother was the piano player in my band when I was 12 years old. And she had a daughter by the name of Anita Moore. And I told them, I said, I can suggest to you a girl that would fit well with Duke. I say, she's in Houston. Her name is Anita Moore, and that's who they got.
Wow.
And on the headlines of the New York Times, they had they didn't have Anita Moore in front, but they spoke in terms of Anita Moore being with Duke, Irene Reed being with Count Basie, and Jewel Brown being with Lionel Hampton. Those pictures on the front page of the New York Times.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the great Jewel Brown over there? Yeah.
I was just curious. Your first name is very unusual. Obviously, you are a Jewel. How did you come by that name? Do you know any stories
That's
about
the most
that?
odd question I've ever been asked, which is a funny. My mother named me Jewel. My sister named me Hazel. My father injected Brown. Now, the doctor was very angry with my mother because I was born the night of Joe Louis and Tommy Farr's bout.
Oh my goodness.
And when mother broke her water, he didn't want to come and tend her. So the nurse went to the doctor and told him, she's ready. He said, but I got to listen to this. Say, Doc, she done broke her water. She's ready. Well, he went on and got up, brought me here. Instead of naming me Jewel Hazel Brown, I have the certificate to this day. He named me Onyx Brown.
Onyx.
You know what onyx means. And that's the story of my name.
Anybody else? Anybody else? As the clock winds. Yeah, on this side. Oh, we got Maxine Gordon. Maxine and I are going to be presenting about Velma Middleton tomorrow at 2 o'clock. We've got all the all-star singers covered.
Are you working on your autobiography yet?
Yes.
Good.
I'm just curious if you worked with Joe Darrensburg from Baton Rouge, and, what was Joe like?
Before Joe Darrensburg was Barnaby Gard.
Right.
And then after Barnaby Gard was Joe Darrensburg. And I noticed a picture there of somebody I don't even hear people talk about. He was so much fun. Big Chief Moore. He was so much fun. Big Chief Moore. He was the trombone player after
Trummie.
After Trummie.
And before
and
Tyree.
then after Trummie, then Tyree Glenn. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Joe Darrensburg cooking at all? There's a Mike Douglas show where he cooks gumbo for the band.
And I never got a chance to taste any of it. Yeah.
Oh, this is wonderful. Anybody else? I think in the front here, John. Or you can shout it out.
Oh, yeah. Edmund was, I didn't get a chance to meet Edmund, but I heard so many stories about Edmund.
Yeah, Edmund was a little earlier.
Big Sid Catlett and those guys. Yeah.
All right, so I guess we'll close. You meet somebody, you want them to understand about Louis Armstrong, but you only have a couple of sentences. How would you sum up Louis Armstrong? What would you want people to know about Louis Armstrong? The Louis Armstrong you knew and toured the world with, what kind of wisdom would you want to share?
He was a man that didn't really care about the fame that he got. He just loved music. He just loved blowing his horn. And when I spoke of Big Sid Catlett, everybody knew Louis came back because he really wanted to die on stage like Big Sid Catlett.
Yep.
You know? He was a very generous man. Whether it was he or Joe, I don't know, but everything was like to the respect that everything should be given. He was a straight up individual. As I said before, I think, you know, I never caught Louis in a lie. Yeah. And even in speaking with people, you know, when they ask him questions and so forth, you know. Well, there's one, you know, I guess you already know about the one with Eisenhower.
Oh, why don't you tell the folks? Yeah, I know about it.
Well, they asked him about what did he think about Eisenhower not seeing about Arthurine Lucy, you know, going in this college. And Bob said, I think he's a gutless son of a bitch. Yeah. He said, the man said, what? So this lady also with Associated Press said, oh, he's tired. He don't know what he's saying. He said, bitch! I said he's a yellow, gutless son of a bitch. And baby, they got him up and right. But that's who he was, a natural.
Yeah.
That's what I got to call him.
Well, I
He
think
was
Jewel
a
Brown is a
natural.
natural as well. This has been one of the
All
great
my
hours
life.
of my life.
All my life.
Thank you, Jewel. See her tomorrow at 3:30. This has been an absolute honor. And have a great night. Take us out, John Pope.
Again, Jewel Brown and Ricky Riccardi. I also want to thank, have a round of applause sustained for Lawrence Cotton and Gwen Tompkins, and Keith Hatchick, and of course Ricky and Jewel. And we'll be back here tomorrow at the same time, 1 to 4. Maxine will be here. And also, remember the festival goes until 8 o'clock. You know, you can go see Leroy Jones right now, Herlin Riley. She'll be playing tomorrow with Mitchell Player and his group. So once again, thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow.
There you go. I certainly will. Get that for me, but he don't have to. Okay.
Wow, look at that.
Look at that.
About as easy a gig as they come.